Hey folks, Ryan Ziegler here with the Lazy Acres Family Farm. We have had a busy morning. We just finished preg checking our heifers and some of our mama cows, and also doing some castrations on some of our little bull calves from this previous calving season. So we ended up with 13 that are pregnant and coming along. So we'll, over the next 5 to 6 months, we'll start seeing some new calves here on the farm, and so we're excited about that. 13 new ones. We castrated, I believe it was 11 bull calves, and I've seen a lot of stuff on Facebook and on Instagram lately, farms showing castrations and stuff like that. That's not something that we do. We'll be glad to show you if you come and tour the farm, but to put it on social media is just not something that we're crazy about. But we, just to give you an idea of how we do that, our vet did help us with that this morning. We do a lidocaine shot in the area there where we're going to be working, and we surgically remove the testes, and so works out really good. And we don't band. A lot of folks like to do banding and stuff, and I'm not a big fan of that. And we have banded in the past, and I just think it's more traumatic and it's more painful on the calves than the other way. So anyway, we had a good morning. We did do a time lapse, and so we're going to play that and let you check that out. We just moved our setup into this barn, and it's not completely dialed in, okay? It's just not completely dialed in. You'll see us walk out of the frame and go get a panel, and then you'll see us walk out a second time and go get 4 more panels. We just had to continue to kind of work on and refine our little process. And so over time, we will work on all those little glitches and fix all of that stuff. But we had an issue with the mama cows. You couldn't see it on camera, but they were actually jumping over this fence system back here behind me. This is part of the old hog fence, and this is all we had up originally was these hog panels. These things are 4 feet high, and they jumped over it over there. They actually tore it down over here. Eventually, you can see where a cow jumped over that, and then they jumped over it back here as well. And so we had to go get these lightweight panels and put them in place here, and that stopped that. It's just tall enough that they just couldn't do the jump. The other thing, this shadow, if you look behind me, you see this shadow back here? That was throwing them off all kind of ways. The cows were back in this area. They would go to make this turn right here, and as soon as they saw that shadow right there, they'd lock up every time. And so we got to figure that out. Probably what we'll end up doing is making a long alley back down here, and we'll put some sort of little sweep system right in here to send them down the alley. But all in all, nobody got hurt, and we worked through them all this morning. And so, like I say, we've got 13 that are pregnant, and so lots of new and exciting things coming up. And so we'll be in touch. Hope you guys enjoy the time-lapse video. So here we are in the time-lapse portion of the video. Nathan and I going to move the first set of cows in here, and we immediately realized that our setup is not dialed in. And essentially we realized that we need a little bit longer alley for this to work more efficiently. And so you saw us run that first heifer through, and now we're having heifers back up, and our vet, Meg Austin, came down in. And so we decided, okay, let's go get a panel. Well, while all that was going on, a truck pulled up, and that was my good buddy, David Jones with Florida A&M University out of Tallahassee. David works for the cooperative extension program there, and has been a super helpful resource on our farm. Good friend of mine, and he is going to help us work these cows today. So we just preg checked the second one, and you see David there in the floppy hat. Nathan just moved the gates around, and I'm there behind him. So we're trying to just sort of figure out our work pattern. How are we going to do this? How's it going to work? You know, the workflow. So there goes the second cow. I'm taking notes. Meg's preg checking. David and Nathan are trying to figure out how to move in the next group. And there goes the next group. We got them lined up, going into the Q-Catch. So far, so good. So along about now is when our first mama cow jumped out of the hog pen area behind us. And we began to talk, all right, how do we fix this? What are we going to do? And so I've got 4 lightweight panels over in the garden area. And so we discussed, well, if we went and got those panels, we could set them up and create kind of a second layer of defense, if you will. And you saw that in the video earlier. Another challenge is that we had calves that needed to be castrated, and we needed heifers, or had heifers that needed to be preg checked. And from the veterinarian point of view, those are 2 completely different operations. And so originally we just said, hey, we'll do the castrations as they come. We'll do the preg checks as they come. The problem with that is, you have to take the big, long shoulder length glove off, and you have to put new gloves on, and you have to sterilize, and it's just not a handy process. So we decided, okay, at this point we are just going to do preg checks and sort out the calves, and then do all the castrations all at one time. And so occasionally you will see small calves come in here. They'll go around in a circle 3 or 4 times, and then they'll go out. And essentially what they're doing is they're just keeping them in the corral, but not necessarily doing anything with them. Just moving them from place to place to place. And so this is about where we made that decision of, okay, let's do all the castrations at one time, and stop trying to switch back and forth, because it was a little bit unhandy. So I will also say this: one of the neat and cool things is our ArrowQuip Q-Catch. Not an inexpensive piece of equipment. We have the Model 74 or 7400 series. It does have the sternum bar, and it does have the head holder on it. And that thing has just really changed the way we work cattle. Used to, we almost, I won't say hated, but it was not easy to work cows. We had just a head catch, and 2x4s or 2x6 and 2x8s leading through an alley. And, you caught the cows sometimes, and you were in there with them. I mean, you crawled up in that thing, and it was not necessarily safe. It certainly wasn't as accessible. I mean, the whole time that we are, castrating these calves, I mean, I'm giving them a black leg and tetanus shot. We vaccinate for black leg on our farm. And we use a combination that has black leg and tetanus in it, so it's just one shot. I'm also ear tagging these cattle, and so being able to restrain their head where they can't hurt you and they can't hurt themselves is just so important. And so when that cow, whether it's a 200-pound steer or bull that we're about to steer, or if it's a 1,100-pound mama, I never worry about anybody getting hurt once it's in that Q-Catch, because we can make it safe. We can squeeze it down. We can secure that animal, and it just works really well. Q-Catch is not paying me, ArrowQuip's not paying me to say that, but it is a great piece of equipment. And if you tour a farm or you visit a farm and they've got a big green squeeze chute that says ArrowQuip on it, they have made a significant investment in the well-being and welfare of their cattle, and you know, pat them on the back, because that's a huge commitment, because those things are not cheap. So at this point, we decide, okay, we've had 3 or 4 jump over the fence behind us, and so we've gone and got these panels. If only it had been that easy and quick to actually go and get these panels. The time lapse makes it look so simple. But we carried these panels all the way back from across the farm, and we're setting those up right now. And so at this point, those panels are set up like you saw in my opening video, those gray tartar panels. Now, if you notice, I go back to the garden, and if you look, there's 2 steers. Somehow we left a gate open or something. They ended up in the garden, and so all my peas and sweet corn are growing like crazy, so I decided I'd better go get them out of the garden before that was a tragedy. All right, so we're back at it. Sorting through, moving cows around, and here comes a big batch. We've got a combination of young bull calves, some steers, and a couple of momma, a couple of mommas, and a couple of heifers in this group. And so, sorting as we go. And so now we kind of retool everything, and we say, okay, listen, we got these 6 or 7 steers in here. Let's go ahead and do our castrations. And so what you see now is Meg is going down the line, administering the lidocaine shots in the scrotum and at the nerve root of each one of these steer or bulls. I keep saying steers because that's what we're doing. That's the process. But the lidocaine, it's a series of 3 shots. It takes about 60 seconds for it to numb everything. 2 minutes is better, and that's the reason that we wanted to do all of the shots at one time and then do all of the cutting at one time. And while she's doing that, I'm ear tagging and giving them a shot of tetanus. Anytime you've got an open wound, especially outdoors and where there's dirt and the chance of bacteria, you want to give them a tetanus shot. So that's the group of steers or bulls that were steered. We had one heifer that didn't want to go down the alley the right way. She kept trying to back down the alley, so Meg just climbed in the alley with her and preg checked her there in the alley. And then we had a couple of these heifer calves that had to be ear tagged. And that about wraps it up. This is Ryan with the Lazy Acres. We'll see you.